Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that may or may not be following us on Facebook. We try to do the show live as much as we can from time to time. If you're following us, appreciate that. Thank you very much. But we'd love to have you download the podcast if you haven't already done so. You go to iTunes and just type in Real Estate Radio Live, or go anywhere online for that matter. Type in Real Estate Radio Live and download the podcast. We'd love to have you follow the show, give us your feedback, pass it on to others as well. For almost 8 years, the focus has been the same. For those that may have been listening to the show for the first time or viewing, the focus is education information with live radio and podcasting. We've been doing this since 2011, roughly. And that is the focus. We'll continue to educate the consumer. And the reason for that is that we really work hard to make sure that consumers, the people that follow the show, that you're more educated and wise. So when you make these financial decisions on real estate, and most of them are quite large, whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, using equity in your home, all kinds of different ways, that these are big decisions. So I want to help you navigate those and partner with the right people as well. And that's what we'll continue to do. For more information, you can always go to RERL-1624-Accessing. That's RERL-1624-Accessing. All right, most of you know, if you've been following the show, usually on Mondays, depending on our schedules, we have either Steve or Mark on, and it's Accessing Wealth Without Debt. That's right, Accessing Home Wealth Without Debt. We'll continue to pass that message along. It's a great new program. I shouldn't say it's new. It's been around for a couple of years, but like anything, it's an educational process. So we're going to be going into more detail of that today. Mark, welcome back in.
Thank you, Joe.
Been a couple of weeks. Good to have you guys back in. Let's do like as we normally do. Maybe you could give those that are just tuning in or listening for the first time a bit of your background, and then tell us a little bit about Barristone and what you guys are up to.
Thanks, Joe. We've been doing this for about 5 years now. We formed Barristone as a way for homeowners that have built up a lot of wealth in their home. We've seen a lot of appreciation in real estate over the last 5 to 10 years, and homeowners find themselves house rich and cash poor and looking to get access to that cash. And a lot of times they don't want a loan or can't qualify for a loan, and this is a great alternative. Homeowners can get up to 20% of their home's value in cash. That means $1 million home, you could get $200,000. There's no monthly payments. There's no interest costs because it is not a loan. It's an investment, and the investor shares in a portion of the future appreciation if that happens, or if the home goes down in value, the investor will participate in a portion of that loss as well.
Got it. All right, very good. So we're going to go into more detail about that. What I also like to do is when we start the show, just kind of go through. It's a good exercise to take people through kind of the traditional mortgages, what we're used to hearing, understanding, what most of us know about mortgages. So we'll do that. Again, most of you, if you've bought a home, sold a home, if you've had any kind of real estate background at all, you know a typical mortgage is a forward-moving mortgage. Most of you know about the 30-year fixed. Of course, they're all ARM programs, which are adjustable mortgage rates. So there's those out there as well. But in general, what happens is when you secure a loan against a property, the lender will give you that money, say it's $400,000 or $500,000, and you'll have an interest rate, the cost of money, whatever that interest rate is, and then you're committed and liable, obviously, to pay that debt off, pay it down. When you sell your house, refinance, that is your debt, and that's pretty typical. Most of you are used to that understand that. Then there's the home equity lines of credit. Some of you or most of you may be knowledgeable or have an understanding of. These are typically as a second lien on your property. Let's say you assume we already have a first lien. If you don't, then there'd be a first. But regardless, these home equity line of credit, they're really what they just talk about. What you do is you enter into an agreement with a bank, and they say, listen, based on the equity in your home, we're going to give you a $200,000 home equity line of credit. You could use that however you wish. It's an adjustable interest rate. Typically, it's interest only. and you use it as a line, just as I said. So if you need $50,000, then you take $50,000 and you're going to pay on that. If you need $200,000, you're going to take that and you're going to pay on that. So the thing to understand about these home equity lines is the majority of them are a 10-year program. What I mean by that is they're set for 10 years, so that is the program. And a lot of people that took out these home equity lines, which is a big, big movement in 2008, 2009-ish, and we're really coming up on that 10-year. You could argue that this all started in 6 and 7, but to move forward. So what happens is at the end of 10 years, if you have a balance on that home equity line of credit, you are surprised, even though you may have understood it when you signed the agreement or you might have read it, but as 8 to 10 years go by, you will be shocked and surprised that that $500 a month payment could go to $2,100, $2,300, $2,500 a month if you're not careful, based on the new market rate, and it re-amortizes to a principal and interest loan for 20 years instead of 30. So I don't mean to throw a lot at you, but what I like to do is just educate this process. So you might be listening to this show and you have a home equity line of credit. You may not know this, so that will help hopefully. Or we're just trying to set the stage, obviously, to also introduce and let those know that there's other options for these home equity lines of credit. The last one I'll talk about briefly is the reverse mortgage. Most of you or some of you may or may not heard about this. It's a good program depending on the person. It really is. There's a number of different programs out there when it comes to financing or accessing, money from your home. It's just that it depends on your personal profile. There's not one that fits all. So the reverse mortgage is designed specifically for people who are 62 or older, and it's really geared towards a combination of your age and the equity in your home. And those are expensive too, and I'm not saying, in some cases they're great programs. In other cases, you have to be careful like anything else. Those are kind of the traditional mortgages. The reverse is just as I mentioned. The difference is if you have a reverse mortgage and you pay off a mortgage, let's say for $400,000, the exciting part is you have no monthly payment. However, that payment is capitalizing every single month. So let's say that payment's $3,000 a month. That is going on to the principal balance every single month, plus interest, plus there's mortgage insurance on those too. So it's a pretty expensive venture. Again, if you understand it and you know what you're getting into, that's great. But understand that it's not free because you're not making that payment. It's adding to your principal every month. So with that, Mark, talk a little bit about, let's go into more detail about how the program works that you guys have, and then we can go into some specific ways that people are using them as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll just give an overview of the programs.
Yeah.
They're all investor-based programs,
okay.
Meaning an investor is going to make an investment in your home, not in the actual home, but in the future appreciation or depreciation. So the homeowner keeps and protects all of their current equity. Mm-hmm. They've worked hard to build up that equity. They keep that equity. What they're agreeing to do is to share the future.
Okay.
A lot of homeowners tell us, I don't need more equity. I have plenty of equity. What I need is cash.
Yeah.
And so what this program does is deliver them the cash in exchange for participation in the future, whether that be appreciation or depreciation. Depending on where the real estate market is, it's had a really nice run over the last 10 years. Some people believe we're at the top or near the top. And if that's the case, then it's a great time to do this program where the appreciation might be flat or declining, where the investor is going to participate in that. One of the things that you brought up was the home equity loan. And, we refer to this as, does your HELOC have you in a headlock? Meaning that you took out that HELOC 10 years ago and thought, no problem, in 10 years we'll refinance or pay it off. Well, things haven't worked out exactly as planned, and you actually can't refinance that. You don't qualify.
Right.
So we have a lot of homeowners that are stuck where that now has not only reset to a fully amortizing loan, but that 3% interest-only loan has now reset to a 5% fully amortizing loan. And you said we've seen people with a $400 payment go as high as $1,700, $1,800, and they're struggling to make that payment. We can do a home appreciation product for them, and they can pay off that home equity loan because the qualification is not the same as a mortgage. The qualification is based on the equity they have in the house. The credit score doesn't come into play. The debt to income for this product is not a factor. So its qualification is solely based on equity. If you've got equity, there's a program that we can qualify you for. And it's a great way to get yourself out from that high interest cost HELOC. Right.
Now it is. It's a great way to do it. So if you're listening to this show, it could be that, what I always like to preface this with, it could be that this doesn't apply to you, but what I would ask you to do is really think about who in your life that this might apply to. It might be a parent, an aunt, an uncle, grandparent, friends, neighbors, really anyone that's trying to access cash from their home. What options do I have? And we just kind of discussed typical options. And of course, there's some things too that are typical hard money. This is the other thing to keep in mind. I know a lot of people, and I don't mention this enough. I need to bring this up too as I was thinking about this as we started the show today. There's a lot of people that get into trouble one way or another, and I'll say trouble, or it may not even be trouble. It's a challenge. It's a temporary challenge. Maybe there's expensive medical bills all of a sudden, or something hits you that you had no idea about, and you've done a great job at planning. All of us could plan as well as we can and with much as we can, but things happen. They do. I mean, a child gets sick, a spouse gets sick, there's something happens to your home, or something happens, who knows? I mean, we could go on and on about the things that happen in our lives where we need money. And rather than, in some cases, a lot of people I've seen them, deplete their 401k, which is a shame, because then, you lose all those years of saving that money and the benefits that go along with it. And then there's penalties for drawing out money depending on your age and all kinds of different ways from that matter. But I've seen people in a pinch when they've had a ton of equity in their home. One of the things I've seen, Steve, is, and again, it's because they don't know there's other options, is they'll do a hard money loan, right?
Yeah.
And those are super expensive.
They're very expensive, and typically, depending on the hard money lender, they're usually very short-term, 2 or 3 year programs. And homeowners find themselves after 2 years not being able to pay it back.
Right.
And now their options are even more limited because, things have deteriorated. This is a great alternative to that hard money loan, because hard money loans should be a absolute last resort.
Right.
And today, hard money lenders are not as forgiving as they were a number of years ago when they would give money out and go in a second position or a third position. We see that they make you pay off your first mortgage.
Right.
So they're paying off a 3 or 4% first mortgage. It may be very small, but they're replacing with 11% hard money loan.
Right.
And that's really, really dangerous, because hard money lenders are not going to sit by, and the default interest rates that they charge if you don't pay that money back in 2 years or 3 years when it's due is astronomical and very, very scary to a homeowner.
Right. Yeah, so this is about, again, educating. You'll notice when we talk about on these shows, or any shows I do, specifically this, I want to make sure I'm clear. We're educating you on a program that's out in the marketplace that's exciting that a lot of people don't know about. But you'll also notice during these shows, we talk about all the other programs that are available to you. And the reason why we do that is that I would never want, and this show will never be a show where we come on where we try to pitch or sell you something and tell you that, oh my God, this is the best thing, don't do anything else except this. I just want to make sure I'm clear, and most people who have been following the show understand that this is about what is available to you as your consumer when it comes to your home, what types of programs are available to access money, whether it's a conventional 30-year, an ARM, a HELOC, a reverse mortgage, this program that Mark's talking about. There are all kinds of different programs, and not one fits all, right, Mark? I mean, that's why. Talk a little bit about the process that you guys go through, and that when you meet with clients, typically in person or on the phone, kind of take us through that system and the protocol you guys have.
Sure. We consider ourselves home wealth specialists. Right. You have financial advisors, you have other CPAs, advisors, estate attorneys, but no one really focuses on really what's the homeowner's largest asset, which is their home wealth. And we look at that as a complete category. And what we do is try and maximize a homeowner's home wealth. What's the best solution for them? There's not one solution. Our products are reverse mortgage alternatives. There's cases where reverse mortgages make sense. There's cases where HELOCs make sense. So what we sit down with the client is really go through all of their financial assets, meaning, their home wealth, their external assets, what their debts are, what's coming up, what their future plans are, when they want to retire, if they're retired, what their monthly income is, so we can come up with a solution that really suits their needs and maximizes their home wealth. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about what you could use this program for, and there's many things, reasons you can and options to use it. But also, Mark, talk a little bit about restrictions. What I mean by that is reverse mortgages, you have to be 62 or older, and then also what a lot of people don't know is the older you get on a reverse mortgage, you could potentially tap into more equity. So I know there's some restrictions there, of course. Tell us a little bit about what it takes to get into your program, everything, limitations, age, homes, primary, secondary investment. Maybe talk us a little bit about the program and the ins and outs of it.
So in terms of the requirements, age is not a requirement.
Okay.
You have to be 18, legal age, to sign a contract.
Okay.
There's no restrictions on that. There's no restrictions on how you use the cash. You can use it for anything. And the biggest difference between a reverse mortgage and our type of products is you do not have to pay off that existing mortgage.
Right.
Most people have a $200,000-$400,000 existing low-interest mortgage, 3%, 4% in some cases. You don't have to pay that off. Our products go on top of that, so that's not a problem. And it can be a primary residence, it could be a secondary residence, and now we have products for investment properties.
Yeah.
So all types of properties qualify. There's not one solution that fits everything. So we look and customize a solution that fits the homeowner's needs. And they've used them for lots of different reasons. A lot of times homeowners end up with a lot of credit card debt or external debt. Unfortunately, we've seen, since the financial crisis, we've seen consumer debt increase almost 50%, which is exactly what we were hoping that wouldn't happen in the economy, that people would be more attuned to taking on more debt, but consumers have done that. So homeowners find themselves with a lot of credit card debt, and they're making the minimum payment, which means that they're not getting any reduction of their principal amount, and that just goes on forever. And credit cards can be anywhere from 19% to, I saw one the other day at 29%. 29% interest on a credit card. So our product can be used to pay that down. We've had people that have used our product to pay off the credit card debt, put money in the bank into some investments so that they can be comfortable that they have enough money outside of their home wealth. Also, retirees use this to supplement their income. Social Security for many homeowners is not adequate to support their needs in this day and age. So this is a great way to use their home wealth to supplement their retirement so that they can live the life that they anticipated.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things you could do. Imagine if you could access this home wealth like we're talking about without the debt. Think about that. Mark just talked about if you're on Social Security, maybe you're on a budget, or you may be on a limited income plan, which most people are. I mean, the sad reality is this, and we talk about this too because Silicon Valley maybe is more, this becomes more pronounced in an area like this because we've had such extreme, incredible rates of appreciation on our equity, right? I mean, most people that have lived here for a while and understand it's incredible. And I myself have real estate, and I've seen what it's done. Now, some people, we're fortunate because we got into real estate, we held on to that property, and that's great. However, there are some people that bought property 30, 40, 50 years ago, and, they weren't fortunate enough to have a job with a pension, or something happened with the health, or spouse, or children, or something, and now all they're left with is Social Security. I see this all the time. And people will come to me, and they'll come to Mark, and they'll say, I don't know what to do. The problem is if you go to a lender, and let's say you have a $2 million home and you owe nothing on it, or a couple $100,000, and you have Social Security, well, you've owned this home for so long, so your property taxes are probably pretty nice, really low, right? So you don't want to leave the house. And you have either nothing, you owe nothing on it or very little. and you're comfortable there, you raised your family there, you've been there for years or whatever the case may be, it might have been passed down. The point is, there are a lot of people that are stuck because they're looking, okay, well, I need $200,000. Maybe it's to repair your home. Maybe it's because you need some additional money to live on each month. But if you go to a lender, they're not going to approve you on a loan. They're just not, because you don't make enough money. And I know it's that, so you're sitting there, Mark, people are scratching their head, and that's kind of why we talk about this, right?
We look at this in bewilderment,
yeah.
Right? And this is absolutely, what you just described is a client that we had a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
They came in, they live in Burlingame, they have a $2.3 million fully paid for house. Fully paid for $2.3 million house, and they were looking for $200,000 or $300,000. Mm-hmm. They went to the bank expecting it not to be a problem to get a loan.
Stellar credit probably, right?
No problem with credit. Credit's good, very responsible, no outstanding bills. But they couldn't qualify for a loan. And they came to us saying, we don't understand why we couldn't qualify for a loan. Can we qualify for your program? And we looked at it and said, of course, you have 100% equity in your home. You can qualify for every program that we have out there. So we were able to find the best solution for them that met their needs in terms of what they were looking to do in terms of retire. They were retired, so they needed supplemental income. And so we matched it with a longer-term product because they anticipate being in their house probably another 15 to 20 years. So it was a great solution for them. Had they not come to us, I don't know what they would have done. They may have had to sell their house. And the biggest issue that we find with homeowners selling houses in the Bay Area is they forget about the capital gains tax, the state tax, the health care tax that goes in that can be upwards of 50% of the gain. And then they lose their low property tax.
Yeah, and this happens all the time, and you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't even know. And, this would be a good exercise, too. If you're listening to this show, again, and you're a child of your parents, your grandparents, aunts, uncles, this kind of stuff is really good for the younger generation to understand. And here's the reason why. I'll plead to, when I say the younger generation, maybe if you're, again, in your 40s or younger, or even 50s or younger, you have to keep in mind that our parents, I'm in my late 50s, my parents, my grandparents, they don't know any different. They really don't. We think that they've been around, they understand business and life, but you got to remember that people in older generations, they don't really understand about accessing money from their home. And it's not because they're uneducated, it's because they're not used to it. You have to keep in mind there's been a certain process in which, people live their lives in each generation. So I guess my point is I'm trying to get across, if you're listening to this show and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, you may be surprised that your parents or grandparents may not even know these programs exist. And again, it's because you don't hear about them, and it's because, guess what? The people with the hundreds and hundreds of $1 million of advertising, guess who those are? And again, I say this not to begrudge, because business is wonderful and we need business to thrive and be profitable. But what my point is the reason you'll see advertising from B of A and Wells Fargo and Citi and Prudential Insurance, and I could go on with insurance, and because they have the money to sell and market traditional programs and products. Think about this. So we're conditioned, we all are, right? If we need money, go to a bank. Invest with 401k, invest with a financial advisor. And believe me, those are all good. I guess my point, Mark, is this is what I'm excited about, is educating people of stuff that they really may not know that's available to them.
Of course. And what has happened over time is the real estate industry and taxation and opportunities have changed.
Right.
And traditional products are great, but have been a dearth of innovative products.
Right.
What we're looking at is innovative products to match the market. Right. So when our parents bought their homes, a 30-year mortgage was not by chance that it was 30 years. It was made for people in their 20s buying a house, retiring, or 30s, and then retiring when they're in their 60s. After they've fully paid off the house, they sell the house, they downsize, they can take that capital gain into the new house, retain their property tax. Well, what's happened is the tax laws have changed.
Right.
You can't downsize and take your gains. You have to pay full tax on that gain.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, in the Bay Area, that's could be $500,700,000 in taxes that you're paying to get out of your house.
Right.
And if you stay in your house and pass the house on to your surviving spouse or your children, they get a step up in basis, and they can save that $500,000 or $700,000 tax that you originally paid. So these products that are out there now, like the home equity sharing type programs, are really an answer to the changing rules around real estate.
Right.
And so a lot of times our parents aren't up to speed on the new tax laws, the new property tax laws. So the education from the children to the parents really can help them avoid making decisions that are not the best financial.
Yeah, good point. We're going to have to wrap things up. Before we do, Mark, let those know listening to the show how to reach out, how to ask questions about the program if they need more information.
Sure. If anyone wants more information, they can call us at 650-802-0800 or visit our website at barastone.com. That's BARASTONE.com, and we'd be more than happy to chat with you or answer any questions that you have.
Very good. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Joe.
This is Joe Kuchera of the Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are tuning in. Again, for more information, you could always go to RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.